Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. The show is designed to give you solutions to your day-to-day management and leadership problems. It's hosted by Matthew Haddock, a frontline manager and leader with over 25 years of experience. If you're ready, then let's get on with the show.
Welcome to the Manager Matt podcast show. I do hope you are well and getting the results with your team. And how do you drive results with your team? Well, you've got to make sure they're motivated. You've got to make sure they understand what the business is up to. They need to understand their job. And how do you do that in work? You need to train. You need to train people to be able to do the work that they are there to do. That's not just the work, day-to-day work, but also the development work and the extra that you're going to want them to do in the future. But of course, training comes at a cost. So this week's show, I want to look at training on a budget. You don't need the big budget to build a skilled team. You need a structure, you need an ownership, and you need consistency. So let's firstly take that out of the equation. Stop waiting for the perfect structure, the magical structure that's going to sort everything out. You know, we'd all love it. We'd all love it if we had, brilliant state-of-the-art equipment. We'd love it if we all had, low complexity, high volume, easy running work, wouldn't we? We'd love that in a manufacturing business. We'd love customers just to come in and buy the products and leave or ring up without any problems. Orders, we'd love them evenly spread throughout the year, the month and even the week, wouldn't we? And of course, we'd like the skilled staff who are willing and able to train without a problem. And of course, the one thing that we never have enough of is time to train. We'd love enough time to be able to get every product and every person to do their piece on every equipment. But that does not happen. So let's stop, firstly, waiting for the perfect thing to happen. You've got to stop also waiting for the perfect hires to come along. Most teams are built. They're not bought. You bring in certain skills, of course you do. You bring in certain talent, and sometimes you do need to freshen the pool and bring in people from external for new ideas, because you do get a stagnant workforce if you don't have new people and new ideas. Of course, that's driven by leadership and the way that they deal with people, but it ain't a bad thing. But you can't build a whole new skilled workforce by buying them all in. And if you're waiting for those fully skilled people, they're never going to be there. They're always going to be in short supply, especially in certain skilled areas. So if you think of engineering, for instance, you're very unlikely to get a skilled person who's just going to walk through the door, or a number of them who are going to be exactly what you need in your industry. It doesn't happen. So you need to shift your mind from the hiring attitude to the building the skills attitude. Sometimes you've got to think of the idea of, if you're going to hire in people, you might actually be hiring in problems, because they come with certain understanding and baggage. If you actually train people, then you can get people to train at the right level for your system. But how do you do that? How do you practically do it? Firstly, you've got to be committed to it. We all try to run before we can walk. We all try to get the volume or the numbers that we need to do, our KPIs, as soon as we can. And of course, that's a good driver for business. We are here to deliver results. But also, you've got to think you're going to need time to do this. So what do you need? You need to make sure you've allowed enough time for people to be able to buddy up, so you've got a proper system. Most companies do this really badly. They can pair people up, but it doesn't last long. As soon as somebody else doesn't turn in, or there's a holiday, all of a sudden these people then get dropped out and you end up with a problem straight away. The buddy system falls apart. To do it right, you need to pair people up who have competencies to do the job, but have also got the patience. So it's not just about the experience, it's not just about being a good person who can run the machines, but they've got to have the patience to be able to train somebody, to show them, to go back and think, what was I like when I first walked in, when I have not seen these machines or processes before. So they've got to be able to do that. You can have the best performing person who unfortunately can be the worst trainer. But on the reverse, you can have a mediocre person who can be a great trainer and get a lot out of people. Look at some of the coaches in the sports world. They're not great players sometimes. They're not the best in their field. Some are, but others are not. And they've become good coaches, they've become good managers. They don't necessarily have to be the best players, whatever sport you're thinking of there. But give the buddies something very much. You've got to give them a clear responsibility, not some vague expectation. So if you're going to use a buddy system, and I think it's the way forward to do that, make sure you have clear responsibility of what that buddy is going to do, not this vagueness. So you are going to train this person on this process or in this machinery or this system, and I'm going to expect these things out from you. Then set themselves some time-bound goals, i.e. it's going to take you 4 weeks to get them up to this point, another 2 weeks to get them here, and in 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever that is, you're going to be fully ready to go. And then finally, like anything in jobs and work, you need to track that progress. Are they moving in the right direction? Are you training the people with the buddy system to get them there? You're not just going to be training that one person. You're creating some future trainers as well. So the person learning the job and learning the role that you are with the buddy, they can then become a better trainer. Your best trainers are already on the payroll. You don't need to bring in external trainers. You've got great buddies who run the processes well, who are delivering results for you. So if you can harness those in the right way and get them to do it, then that's brilliant, and you'll get a much, much better return on your investment. You've also got the idea of the local experts, the micro leaders. Every team has one. There's the quiet problem solver, the one who gets things done all the time, in the background, fixing issues. They're the ones you want to look at. The go-to operator. If there's a real struggle on a piece that you need to make, or a process that's really difficult for a certain customer, or a SKU that's really hard, you've got to go to operate. You know that person can do it. You've seen them before. The person who just knows how things work. They've been there a long time, or they've showed some great interest in learning. And instead of overloading the manager and giving these people all this skill, so, oh yes, the team leader will do it, the person who's in that area will do it, give it to the people who actually are good at what they do. Make them a skills champion, for instance. So your local expert can become your skills champion. They're the ones who can develop, get the best out of the person. Yes, of course, using the buddy system is part of it, but also they can do some of the bigger pieces of work on training. So look at it that way. An example, one person who could own the quality checks, for instance. One person could just own the setting up of the machine. The other one is good at reporting. Use those skills, almost like micro deputies that are going to lead, but are also good at training. And you get those people on board, they show others what good looks like. And that will mean you are building things like pride, consistency, a depth of knowledge across the team. Because if you keep centralising knowledge, it's not going to spread. And that's going to be a real problem, because when you go to holidays, sickness, people leave, they go with the skills. That's the problem with engineering currently. Lots of great engineers have been in positions for years. They know the machinery, they know the processes, they know how to get in and out of the systems. They're great at fixing it, but they're getting older. They're getting to retirement age. They're getting times where they have medical issues, and we haven't got good enough engineers coming through. They've also centralised the skills, because those engineers have kept it to themselves. They're not great at spreading that information. So when the next person comes in, they're almost learning from scratch. So get yourself a skills champion. The quiet person who's good at doing it is always a good one to go to. But of course, make sure they can communicate. There's no point in being too quiet when you're doing training. But you'll get that depth across your team, and it'll stop the centralisation of knowledge, and it'll help it spread. Another thing to look at is the idea of how do you train outside the classroom. A lot of people jump on the bandwagon of, we need to sit in a classroom for 2 days and they'll learn all these procedures, and it doesn't work. You've got to train in the flow of the work. You've got to get people out there. Lots of skilled teams need the idea of getting out there and being on machines, because they're not great in classrooms. A lot of people don't like classrooms. They have flashbacks to being at school where they probably hated it. So make sure that you are developing a flow of training that is not in the classroom. On-the-job training is so much better. That's where the buddy system comes in. But you're looking at the idea of you shadow, you do, and you teach. So people love to watch things these days, don't they? If I have an issue, on a car, at home, a bit of DIY, anything, I got YouTube. Other formats I'm sure are available, Google or AI now. But you go to YouTube, you watch it, you try and learn it, you stop it a few times, And that helps you get there, doesn't it? It's not a teacher sat at the front of the room, but it's that doing model. It's the same at work. Go in there, have a look at it, watch it being run, watch the process, listen to what's being said. That will help the person learn it quicker. And if you can teach them that way, they'll understand it better. If you can teach them it, then they'll know it forever. They can build on it. There's a lot of times when new people will actually go, why are we doing this? Why are we doing it this way? And that's a really good way of building it forward, because you're coming in, you watch it through a few times and you start challenging it and going, why are we doing it this way? Why don't we do this? When I worked in my last place, I did this. And that shadowing of what we do can grow to the next level of a CI, a continuous improvement of improving it. So just because you're new and in the job for not that many years or months, you still can have an input in training the next generation and also building good processes. Try and keep it simple. It's not hard, that, is it? Simplification is what we all want. We massively forget that training manuals are no good to no one. There's the odd one where you might want to look at a picture for a part, but sometimes you get these massive manuals that no one's going to read. So you've got to make sure they're visual. You want visual guides, small, short guides on the stations, checklists. Planes fly on checklists. These massive, technically advanced machines use checklists. The pilots will use them. 1-point lessons, quick, focused instructions. These are things you need to get out there after you've done your basic training with people so they can refer to them. Not a dusty old manual sat in the back of a cupboard, but out there, simple, very visual. Humans are visual. Look at it, easily learn it, do it that way around. Will make it much simpler. And again, if someone sees something wrong or a better way of doing it, brilliant. Change it, because it's one piece of paper with a laminate. It's easy to change. Let's make learning easy to access. Let's make learning easy to repeat. And of course, let's make it hard to ignore. Complicated training systems, they just kill the execution. They're not going to help you. Get someone to read a big manual, won't help them. Watch a YouTube clip or do some videoing yourself. How many cameras are on phones? Every phone's got a camera. Go video it, easily splice it together so people can look at it and say, how did that work? It's a great point to go through. When you're doing these training, remember people loved encouragement. So look at those small wins, especially in a low-skilled team. And that's not being offensive. That means that teams that are maybe low-skilled from an academical background, they love to see quick wins and achievable skills. So we can celebrate when people learn how to do these things. We don't want to overwhelm people, but if they've learned to do a certain piece of equipment and run it well, let's have some confidence in giving that person a pat on the back, shaking hands, well done, build it up. They don't need a big ceremony. They just need to be showing those easy wins of getting that skill that might be lacking, and even confidence that might be lacking, built up. That builds the ability. That gives people quick, easy, accessible skills that they can use. And you as a manager, you celebrate those skills. If that person's being ticked off that skills matrix, brilliant. That is so better. You need to create positivity with that as well, because by creating a positive pressure on them, and this is not panic, this is not bad pressure, it starts to move it forward. So by creating a positive pressure, you end up with giving people some clear expectations, some measurable standards. If you just say to people, right, you're going to train how to do that, and everyone's trained a totally different way, and everyone's measured a different way, and no one's marked or ordered in any way, then you of course get errors. If you give people clear expectations, measurable standards to go to, it can avoid the blame culture and the public embarrassment when the people who are not that good at it can't do it. We all know if we ran a race, all of us who are listening, someone would finish first and someone would finish last. But each of us would be putting in the most effort we can. And of course, the same with the training. You train people, you get them to a standard, but there's usually going to be one or two people who just get it better, know it more. Those are the ones you want to become your next buddies. Those are the ones you want to be your local champions. But you've got to use this friendly competition to get everyone to those levels. It's not to beat someone up if they don't get there. It's not to have a go if they aren't quite as good. It's to try to get pressure in the right way to grow a business, not through fear, but by the right pressure. So look at how you can put some positive pressure on your metrics to make sure you're getting everyone trained up and in the right place when you need them. Because if you don't do that right and you don't get your training right, there's some big mistakes will come down your way. If you you take training as a one-off, you're in a nightmare. One-off training does not work. One-off events don't work. You need to build it every day, every shift, every week you're building. You want weekly skill focus. So it's not just something you do as an event and then you tick it off and you don't come back to it to a year. You need to make sure it is in people's diaries. Skills are important. Then you can have your monthly refreshers, because then training becomes part of the culture. It's not something that interrupts what you're doing. Training shouldn't stop what you're doing. It's actually to help you get better. Training may have a small dip in your output. That's fine. But performance in the long run will come because you get the basics right of training, you get the people right with the training, and you build confidence with training every day. You'll get the performance you need every time. Let's get the cost myth out of the way. You maybe at the beginning heard me say about costs of training, and it is expensive to train someone in certain ways. And if you do an external course, you've got university, you know how many thousands of pounds that cost. But if you look at it, is an external training course, which is expensive, generic, the right thing for you? It could be. Some management courses I've done are brilliant, and I think the training and mentoring, coaching courses I've done, they've really helped me grow, and I would encourage you to go look at those ones if you can. But internally, you can develop it as a tailored, very much scalable. So let's have a look at that. If you can get a good internal course that delivers for your team, who are maybe on the lower end of the skills from an academic point of view, you're going to get something that's much cheaper. There's also some real cost benefits of this training. You're going to get less errors, less rework. You're going to get rid of low productivity. You're going to get rid of frustration. So paying for good internal skills and good internal training is much, much better than trying to get a perfect external course, because it won't fit your business and it won't help you in the long run, because that's what it's about, is getting people to do their jobs as well as they can, to build a good culture that can learn from mistakes and move forward and deliver results, making sure your costs are down, therefore your business is strong. So let's just finish up. Low skills isn't a people problem, it's a leadership decision. If you allow your teams to get lower skills, you're going to get problems, because you as a manager, you're going to have to get involved much more, you're going to get low productivity, errors and all the rest. But you as a team can grow if you can get a good culture that values training, internal training which is set up for your team, for your business, for your processes, for your machines, for your customers. Those are the things you need to go at. You need to structure it, you need to own it, you've got to push it forward. But in the long run, if you don't invest in training, you'll get a workforce that'll do the bare minimum that they've been trained to do. They won't spot problems, they won't drive the business forward, and they won't get you where you need to go. Well, that's it this week. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you can share this with others, that'd be brilliant. If you can share it forward and let people know, I'd love others to listen to Manager Matt. Thank you so much for the emails I've had this week. Some great questions have been coming in. One of them was around training, funnily enough. So you know who you are was listening. I hope that helps you with some of the training questions you've asked. And if you want any more information or any more advice, then send it to managermattpodcast@gmail.com and I will definitely answer you. But that's it for Manager Matt this week. Thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening to this Manager Matt podcast. We hope you found it interesting, helpful and actionable. One last thing, please leave a quick review on iTunes or with your podcast provider, as it helps to spread the word of Manager Matt. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the podcast, and if you did like anything in particular, send an email to managermattpodcast@gmail.com or visit managermatt.co.uk for more content. Feedback is a gift, so let's keep giving. See you next week.